Hello and welcome to the Gaggle What We Challenge, and if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely, and I just want to record a short video on this open war that's broken out in the Trump base. It's between his MAGA supporters and his Silicon Valley donors. In a way, this fight was always likely because we have in the one corner, which is the MAGA base, that wants to restrict immigration, impose tariffs, and essentially pursue a policy of buy American and hire American. In the other corner, we have the Silicon Valley crowd, and of course, they, more than anyone else, are huge advocates of cheap labor. They want the country to bring in all kinds of what they call talent from around the world, and and then they can pay them a lot less than the going rate. And they, the Silicon Valley crowd, have of course been for years touting the supposed shortage of really technical, sophisticated, scientific, engineering talent in the United States. There just isn't any of it. America isn't producing the kind of high-powered intellects that Silicon Valley needs. And we've been hearing this for years, just as we hear from the other corner that somehow there's no one in America is willing to pick lettuce. No one in America is willing to pick avocados or jalapeno peppers. We have to go abroad for this talent. So what has happened is that the Trump MAGA base has become quite indignant. But this fight began really with Trump himself when he sent out this this tweet, and let me show you what he sent out. And here we have this is the truth that he sent out about that his appointment of Sriram Krishnan. So let me read this out, what he said here. Sriram Krishnan will serve as senior policy advisor for artificial intelligence at the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, working closely with David Sachs. Sriram will focus on ensuring continued American leadership in AI and help shape and coordinate AI policy across government, including working with the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. Sriram started his career at Microsoft as a founding member of Windows Azure. Now, Krishnan is an Indian and was born in India, and he got his education in India. And then he came to the United States, and he did indeed work at Microsoft. He worked at Facebook. He worked at Twitter. And he's about 35 years old, so quite very young. He is now an American citizen. And he has been a very strong advocate of lifting all restrictions on H-1B visas. Now, H-1B visas are those are work permits, and those are the visas that are much beloved by the Silicon Valley titans. And, you know, they want to bring in lots and lots of people just like Sriram, who apparently can do jobs that Americans are no longer able to do. And this is, of course, very problematic because, of course, Trump, his whole pitch was that he was going to make America great again. and that he would indeed be hiring Americans, and that this isn't going to be an open door to people from all over the world, and using America as just simply a supermarket. You just come in, you take whatever you want, and then you just go away. Um, so so this is already very difficult. I mean, first of all, David Sachs himself, he was born in South Africa. Now he's lived in the United States. He's an American citizen. Um, but again, with Elon Musk, who is also, of course, a South African, um, and it is a problem that suddenly Trump is listening not to MAGA, who thinks, hey, we're now going to be restricting jobs to Americans, but on the contrary, he is listening to people like Elon Musk, to whom he's very close, of, hey, let's bring in people from all over the world. And in a way, this was always likely to happen because Trump, though he has talked a lot about immigration, he has more or less restricted himself to criticizing illegal immigration. The problem is that there's no controls of the border. The problem is that people are just coming in here by the hundreds of thousands. There's no proper vetting process, and then they cross illegally, or they seek fake asylums, and then boom, they're just inside the America, and nobody can keep track of them. So he's largely limited himself to attacking illegal immigration. But of course, as we know, illegal immigration is only part of the problem. Legal immigration is an even more serious part of the problem, because it means that Americans who go through the grind of an education system, which costs a pretty penny in the United States, they sit their exams, and then they find that they can't get any jobs because all the science, tech, and engineering jobs have gone to people who have been recruited from all over the world, from India, Nigeria, Ghana, wherever. And so that's always been a part, an even bigger issue, which is legal immigration, because it's a way of displacing Native American talent. And of course, the point about these H-1B visas is that employers really like them. They can bring people in from many parts of the world, pay them a lot less than they would have to pay their own domestic workers. And they are, in a sense, indentured servants, because if you're on an H-1B visa, you have to do as you're told, because then your employer can just simply cancel your visa, and then you have to leave the country. So it's much beloved by employers, and that's why they've always been pressuring government to lift the restrictions on H-1B visas. I think there's about 85,000 H-1B visas are issued every year. And of course, the idea behind H-1B was that this would be a way for America to bring in exceptional, unique talent that the country is unable to produce. So it's the idea that you're bringing in some Albert Einstein-like person. The person is so extraordinarily brilliant that we have to have it. But of course, in practice, that's not what happens. The H-1B is offered to quite ordinary people, people who coming in entry-level jobs, mid-level jobs. These are not exceptional talents, and they're manipulated by employers in order to supplant native workforce with a much cheaper and a much more pliable workforce. But then that's what this Sriram Krishnan has been advocating for. So essentially, if you look at him on the internet, um, he you know, he speaks with a very thick Indian accent. So though, again, an American citizen, he nonetheless speaks with a very thick Indian accent. And it's, again, very strange that he gets this very prestigious position, the senior policy advisor for artificial intelligence. Um, and what are we supposed to conclude from that? That the United States is unable to produce in this country anyone who was comparable in talent, who could serve as a senior policy advisor for artificial intelligence. But anyway, this set off a lot of anger among Trump's MAGA supporters. And what happened then was that Elon Musk weighed in. So first of all, it was weighed in by kind of Elon Musk's sidekick, Mario Naufal, who runs a lot of those Twitter chats. And so he says, this is his tweet: Silicon Valley's biggest limitation, engineering talent shortage. That's it. So this is the perpetual cry from Silicon Valley, the engineering talent shortage. It's just like the cry of the other members of the cheap labor lobby. There's no American is willing to pick lettuce. Just no one. There's no one around. Amazing. No one is around. Of course, one hardly need add that anyone will do anything as long as you pay that person properly. The issue is they won't do it for $2 an hour. But when you think of the dirtiest, most unpleasant jobs, there's always somebody to do them because they're well paid. So if imagine jobs like picking up refuse or working down in the sewers. Well, that's a pretty disgusting thing. But there are people who are more than happy to do them. Why? Because they are paid well. Those are often unionized jobs, and the pay is pretty good. And so, of course, people will go and do something like work down in the sewer if you pay them. And that really is the key. Yes, there isn't anyone to pick lettuce if you don't pay people. But if you pay them, then you won't have any difficulty finding people who will pick lettuce. And again, the notion that there's that there's lack of engineering talent in the United States, given that America has, probably the best universities in the world. There's no shortage of science and engineering faculties. The best American universities, or the best science and engineering departments in the world are at American universities. So there are, you're asked to believe something that is inherently implausible. Anyway, he goes on. The US semiconductor industry alone needs over 160,000 engineers by 2032, driven by $250 billion in new investments. This woe is me. Demand for AI experts has skyrocketed, with Elon Musk, calling the talent war the craziest ever. Meanwhile, STEM programs struggle to produce enough graduates. Now, always, never believe this kind of stuff. This is always the cry of the cheap labor lobby. STEM programs struggle to produce enough graduates. This shortage threatens innovation from AI to semiconductors, slowing progress and global competitiveness. Expanding STEM education, streamlining high-skilled immigration, and reskilling workers are urgent solutions. Investing in talent is investing in the future. So this is Musk's sidekick. He runs a lot of things on Twitter or X. So this kind of talk, this Musk and the rest of them kept this very much in abeyance during the election, because the MAGA brigade, they didn't want to listen to this. This is classic cheap labor union busting talk that really wasn't going to appeal to this working class, middle class base that the new Republican Party, the Trumpian Republican Party, is seeking to appeal to. That they don't want to hear that kind of talk. And now suddenly it's come out. Trump isn't even in the White House yet. And already now we're talking all this talk about we need to bring in lots and lots of workers. And then Musk says there is a permanent shortage of excellent engineering talent. It is the fundamental limiting factor in Silicon Valley. So here's Silicon Valley, which has done extremely well, made a ton of money, dominates really the world in computers, in AI, in software, internet, social media. I mean, pretty much Silicon Valley dominates, but apparently it's something is really limiting it. And then Musk goes on, no, we need more like double that number yesterday. The number of people who are super talented engineers and super motivated in the USA is far too low. Think of this like a pro sports team. If you want your team to win the championship, you need to recruit top talent wherever they may be. That enables the whole team to win. Now, of course, that begs questions, which is, do we think of our country, or do Americans think of their country as a sports team? And that as a sports team that needs to win, and therefore it needs to recruit the best talent. And yeah, I mean, the analogy is fine for a sports team, that if you wanted to have to have an extraordinary successful record, yeah, you got to keep recruiting talent, bringing in talent from wherever. But that's not really what a country is. A country is supposed to be held together by all things that were supposed to hold it, by tradition, by history, by language, by culture, by kinship, community, all the things, the complex relationships that hold a country together. And it's not a matter of the super talent that you have to recruit, otherwise the country is not worth living in. So it's a strange kind of tweet for him to send out. And then somebody says, in response to Musk, he says, I am yes, you are no. Anyway, he says, there are over 330 million people in America. Surely there must be enough among them to build your ultimate team. Why would you deny real Americans the opportunity by bringing foreigners here? So again, this raises the question, why are we doing this? And remember, this has been going on for many, many years, bringing foreigners in. And it starts at a lower level. It starts at university level. And that's just not just in the United States. I mean, this happens in other countries. I mean, it happens very much in the United Kingdom, where they bring in foreign students. Now, in the case of the UK, they bring the foreign students in because it brings a lot of money in. And these foreign students, of course, the effect of that is to displace native students. There's just simply no room, and of course that happens in the United States. I mean, so in other words, if you're bringing in students from China and India and Indonesia and Vietnam and everywhere else, and you bring them in and they bring money with them, well, it means that those places at Stanford and Harvard and MIT, well, there's fewer slots available for American students. So it becomes a self-reinforcing. Well, because these American students don't get in to the best colleges, and you say, oh, well, we don't have the American talent, and we're gonna hire them from abroad. Now, apart from anything else, there's a security concern here when you bring in students from China and India and Indonesia, because many of them are without question engaged in spying. I mean, when they take places in the scientific and engineering labs of Harvard and Stanford, you can be sure that many of them are engaged in spying about what's going on in the labs, the research and so on. So there's an obvious security concern. And then apart from the concern that they're keeping out, that they're preventing native students from taking those positions. Anyway, he says this by bringing in foreigners, and then Musk says, your understanding of the situation is upside down and backwards, says Musk. Of course, my companies and I would prefer to hire Americans, and we do, as that is much easier than going through the incredibly painful and slow work visa process. However, there is a dire shortage of extremely talented and motivated engineers in America. This is not about handing out opportunities from some magical hat. You don't get it. This is blindingly obvious when looking at NBA teams. Again, talking about NBA, as the physical differences are so obvious to see. However, the mental differences between humans are far bigger than the physical differences. So basically, these are super, super intelligent people that Americans are just not producing. So in other words, he's now saying that there's a mental differences, which is amazing, mental differences. So these people in India, China, just much, much more clever than Americans. Because, I mean, it's something that's innate. I mean, like physical differences are innate. I mean, one person is bigger and stronger than another. So he's saying, yeah, well, that's even worse when it comes to these mental differences. They're so stark. Now, this is always very strange because if Indians and Chinese are so brilliant, why would they want to come to America, which is where everybody is much stupider than they are, and why wouldn't they be essentially making India and China far more prosperous than they are? I mean, obviously, India and China are major economies, they're growing economies, but they don't in any way compare to the United States. When you compare per capita GDP, I mean, there's just they're way, way behind the United States and most of Europe. So again, it's surprising that they want to come to the United States, and they have to be in the United States if the talent is just so much greater talent in India and China. Why would you want to be among stupid people? Anyway, he then goes on. There's a permanent shortage of excellent engineering talent. It's the fundamental limiting factor in Silicon Valley. And then Musk goes on, maybe this is a helpful clarification. I am referring to bringing in via legal immigration on immigration, the top 0.1% of engineering talent as being essential for America to keep winning. I'm not even sure what he means. 0.1% of what? What exactly? 0.1% of India, 0.1% of the engineers employed in the United States. So I don't know, 0.1% of what? This is like bringing in the Jokic or Wembys of the world to help your whole team, which is mostly Americans, to win the NBA. So now he's trying to say, oh no, it's just a few people that we're going to be bringing in. But there's a problem with that, which is that it's never a few people. That's always been the lie on with the H-1Bs, that it's just exceptional talent, but we know it's never exceptional talent. It's actually often very mediocre talent, that employers manipulate the system in order to keep this this channel of talent coming into the country and driving down wages, and to keep that moving. So this whole thing that you have these, we need these Jokic's, this sort of the exceptional talent, it's just unlikely. Again, given that the United States is obviously the leader and has been the leader for years and years with computers, with the internet, with social media, and now with AI. So it's always very, very odd when we have to take this talent. Well, where, you know, who else is employing this talent? There's no one else. Thinking of America as a pro sports team that has been winning for a long time and wants to keep winning in the right mental construct. So this is really infuriating the MAGA people, because they say, well, this is our country. This is why we're supposed to love our country. We don't think of our country as a pro sports team. And yet, you can see in one tweet after another, he keeps using this analogy of that America is this pro sports team. And again, Trump has never spoken like this. Now, as I say, he's always focused on illegal immigration. He's never really talked about legal immigration. And I guess he said, yeah, I'm for legal immigration, and the idea being that, we're going to bring through legal immigration, we're going to bring in people, the great talents, but they're going to do it legally, as if somehow that makes it okay. If you do it legally, it makes it okay. But of course, it doesn't make it okay, because this is for Americans, or for in any other country. This is their country, and this is where people expect to make a good, decent living, and they don't want their opportunities to make a good, decent living thwarted through the importation of talent from abroad, and told, well, I'm sorry, you won't be getting these good jobs at these top AI or social media firms. You won't be getting any of those because we're bringing in people from India. That, the fact that it's illegal doesn't make that okay. To keep winning is the right mental construct. See, again, remember, Musk is all, at the moment, he's really acting like co-president. He's there with Trump all the time. They're together. They're holding these meetings together. And therefore, when he talks like this, it sounds like, well, are you speaking for Trump? Because Trump has never spoken like this. And now, to add fuel to the fire, Musk's number two, Vivek Ramaswamy, also weighed in. And his was quite an extraordinary long tweet that he sent out. And then he says here, the reason Top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit, a lazy and wrong explanation. A key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. Tough questions demand tough answers, and if we're really serious about fixing the problem, we have to confront the truth. What is this truth? Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s and likely longer. That doesn't start in college, it starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. A culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World or Zach and Slater over Screech and in Saved by the Bell or Stefan over Steve Urkel in Family Matters will not produce the best engineers. Now, needless to say, I don't know who any of these characters are to whom he's referring. You know, they're obviously from sitcoms. Nonetheless, the contempt that he is exhibiting here towards Americans, you know, that they're kind of stupid and lazy and uh, interested in prom queens, um, dating, vegetating in front of the telly instead of, training for the math Olympiad, is quite extraordinary. We didn't hear any of this during his presidential run. And that makes his presidential run all the more strange because he's letting fly here in the way that he didn't during the campaign. And his campaign was odd in that the only thing he ever said during that campaign was that he supported Donald Trump, that Donald Trump was a wonderful person. Donald Trump deserves to be president. And he presented no real case for his own candidacy because he was, extolling the virtues of Donald Trump and promising that, he will, if Trump is convicted of one of the charges that were brought against him, President Vivek Ramaswamy, will pardon Trump. So he never really outlined any particular affirmative vision of America or what his candidacy was about, why he wanted to be president, other than he was the champion of Donald Trump. And everybody assumed that, well, he's obviously angling to be Trump's VP or angling for a job in the Trump administration, which he has indeed won. But this disdain for the American culture, this he kept hidden. It's the kind of disdain that you often get in the pages of National Review. You know, all those kind of nerdy guys, with their bow ties and trying all of whom trying to sound like Bill Buckley. They tend to trash America all the time to somehow they don't attack Black America because if they did that, then they'd be accused of racism. So they spend their time attacking white America. Apparently, white America, they're lazy, they're stupid, they don't attend school, they spend their time drinking and partying and chasing after girls, and girls, of course, chasing after boys. That's the sort of the white culture that they know that they absolutely free reign. You can trash white Americans as much as you like, and how deplorable they are, and how low in character they are, and so on. That's a freebie. Just don't say anything negative about African American culture, because then the media are going to come after you. So this is the way he sounds in this tirade. And then he goes on, fact, I know multiple sets of immigrant parents in the 90s who actively limited how much their kids could watch those TV shows precisely because they promoted mediocrity and their kids went on to become wildly successful STEM graduates. So clearly, there he is, back sounding like the editorial writers of the Wall Street Journal who always told us for years, for decades, that of course immigrants are, inherently vastly superior to indigenous Americans. I mean, because they have a work ethic, they're determined to succeed in school, and they don't waste their time watching television. They're much, much, much better than Americans, and therefore we should have more of them in our country. And that's all. That's exactly what the Wall Street Journal editorial page, and of course many other conservatives have advocated. Yeah, we need to bring in more immigrants because hey, they're the kind of people who will make America great. It doesn't occur to them, yeah, but they're essentially parasites. They're basically not producing anything there in their country. They're actually battening on to what others in America have produced, namely the great universities, the great educational institutions, the great industries, the great science and technology research facilities. They're just battening onto them here. Now, they're working hard, no question, but it's still, they're not really producing and creating something there. They're just essentially battening onto something that somebody has already produced here. So also they're they're magnificent, vastly better than Native Americans. More movies like Whiplash, fewer reruns of Friends. I don't know what Whiplash is. I do know Friends, and it is indeed a lousy sitcom, as are pretty much all sitcoms. So you're breaking into an open door there. More math tutoring, fewer sleepovers. Look at those. He's really, lashing out at American culture. Yeah. No, notice again, all this he kept hidden because his whole thing was he was his parents were were immigrants from India. He was born in the United States, but hey, he was this great success. An American success story. Isn't this magnificent? That here he is. He is the son of immigrants. And look, he went to Harvard. He went to Yale. Made a lot of money. Went to ran for president. Only in America. That's everybody. You got to shout it out. Only in America. And now here he is trashing that very culture that he was supposed to be celebrating. He was supposed to tell us how fantastic everything was. That somebody like him could succeed. More weekend science competitions, fewer Saturday morning cartoons, more books, less TV, more creating, less chilling, more extracurriculars, less hanging out at the mall. So he's sounding like a real nerd. It's like, well, I don't know. I mean, we've all known from high school and from university the nerds, the people who did all of that, all of the things that he wants Americans to do. There's never been shortage of the nerds who spent their time doing homework, spent their time studying, spent their time preparing for exams and then preparing for college and so on. So there's nothing unusual about that. But here we're getting the one of those people, those nerds, the swats, as we used to know them in England. The swats, they're suddenly getting their own back and showing their complete contempt for the football jocks. The swats who never got to sit with the cool kids, who never got to be friends with the football jocks. Now he's having a go and lashing out at them. Most normal American parents look skeptically at those kinds of parents. more normal American kids view those kind of kids with scorn. If you grow up aspiring to normalcy, normalcy is what you will achieve. Now, the amazing thing is the extraordinary arrogance that he displays here. I mean, he's really expressing total arrogance and disdain for whatever, 90% of Americans. We're talking about if you grow up aspiring to normalcy, normalcy is what you will achieve. Whereas I and all my immigrant buddies, we never wanted normalcy. We wanted extraordinary achievement, and extraordinary achievement is what we achieved. Now, close your eyes and visualize which families you knew in the 90s or even now who raise their kids according to one model versus the other. Be brutally honest. Normalcy doesn't cut it in a hyper-competitive global market for technical talent. But again, it's very interesting, the hyper-competitive, but the truth is there's no hyper-competition. Everyone wants to come to the United States. I mean, there's nobody who says, well, I'm just not sure. Maybe I'll go work in China, or I think I'll go and work in India, or I'll go and work in China. Everyone wants to come to the United States. So there's no hyper-competition. The Chinese students are coming to the United States. The Chinese students are, they're taking up the positions in Chinese universities or British universities. It's never the other way around. There's no, we don't get Americans going to say, well, I gotta, the University of Beijing, I gotta go study there. That's where the action is. Well, University of Tokyo, that's where I gotta go. It's always the other way around. And again, they want they want the jobs here in the United States. It's never the other way. Yeah, I want to go and live in Japan. I want to go work at Mitsubishi in Japan. And if we pretend like it does, normalcy doesn't cut in a hyper-competitive global market for technical talent. And if we pretend like it does, we'll have our asses handed to us by China. Anyway, it goes on. This can be our Sputnik moment. Sputnik moment, they mean that what happened after the Soviet Union launched the Sputnik, the first satellite in space in 1957, there was absolute panic in the West, throughout the West, but also particularly in the United States, that the Soviets had rushed ahead on science and technology, and there was a huge boost in scientific and technical education. There were many new universities built. Enormous amount of money was invested in science research. New laboratories built. Big expansion of scientific departments. But of course, what happened then was you got a lot of mediocrities going into science because it was so easy to go into science because everyone was encouraged, no matter how lacking in any real ability you were, you could pretty much book your own passage into any university in any scientific department. You didn't have to be particularly good or particularly talented in science because the science departments in the United States, in the UK, were actively recruiting in schools. Hey, come on over. We need scientists. They obviously they had to justify these huge budgets because the government was giving them so much money. They had to justify all these funds that they were receiving from governments. And of course, without question, I mean, it also produced, good science, but it also produced a lot of mediocrity. When you essentially government can step in, pour a lot of money into something without really thinking through what the hell it's doing, there's going to be a lot of mediocrity as a result. Anyway, so this could be our Sputnik moment. We've awakened from our slumber before, and we can do it again. Trump's election hopefully marks the beginning of a new golden era in America, but only if our culture fully wakes up. A culture that once again prioritizes achievement over normalcy, excellence over mediocrity, nerdiness over conformity, hard work over laziness. That's the work we have cut out for us, rather than wallowing in victimhood and just wishing or legislative alternative hiring practices into existence. I'm confident we can do it. So again, you notice the arrogance, and of course this goes together with the Musk, David Sachs um, line that, hey, we got to bring in, the whole Silicon Valley mantra. We need to bring in um, people from abroad because, of course, they're just so much better than Native Americans. Now, you know, again, there's a real problem here because when it comes to science and technology, it still seems as if the United States is able to produce the best scientists and technicians and engineers. Again, where are the innovations coming from? Through AI, through social media, it seems as if they're coming in the United States. I mean, again, we here we're not carrying water for the United States, but we try to apply a little bit of common sense. These people from whether it's China, from India, wherever, they're coming to the United States. It's never the other way around. Anyway, and then Elon Musk retweeted something by Ian Miles Chung. So Elon Musk reposts this. It says, Trump gets it. Donald Trump, quote, if you graduate from a U.S. college, 2-year, 4-year, or doctoral, you should automatically get a green card or stay. Green card to stay. Too often, talented grads are forced to leave and start billion-dollar companies in India or China instead of here. That's success, and those jobs should be in America. Now, this, of course, is deeply obnoxious in many different ways, because, first of all, these foreign students who come to American universities, their fees are paid for by the governments of their countries. Now, the reason why the government of their countries are paying those fees is that they want them to come back after they graduate, come back to their countries and use these talents of science, engineering, computer talents in their own countries. That's the whole point. That's why they invest. Governments invest in that education, that they're able to use the skills that they acquire in American universities or British universities or wherever, then to apply in their own countries. If America is just going to steal these people, then essentially America is sucking all the talent from the rest of the world. It's just sucking up all the talent. It means that those countries will never be able to develop themselves. They need the doctors, they need the engineers, they need the scientists. And essentially it just becomes the purest form of imperialism. I mean, you're constantly exploiting the talent from all over the world, and in the worst possible way. Those countries, that they invest in the students that they send abroad, and then these students go off and work for the United States. It's an absolutely dreadful idea. But Musk reposts it. I assume Musk approves of it. So you come to America, 2 year, 4 year, or doctoral. So 2 year, and that's 2 year. I don't know, community college. I don't know. I don't know if anyone comes to America to a community college, but 4 year or doctoral. So they do all of that. A lot of money has been spent on that, and they said, "Okay, thank you. You've now got a green card, so we'll use your talent here, even though your country needs it a lot more than we do because we got all that talent. We've got the scientists here, we've got the doctors here, and Americans want those positions." Um, and then, and just to reiterate, here's something from 2023, just to reiterate that the fact that these Silicon Valley companies make it a policy not to hire Americans, they go out of their way actually to hire non-Americans because it's profitable for them to do so. Don't give us the whole spiel about NBA and sports teams and whatever. So here's from 2023. The Justice Department secures 25 million landmark agreement with Apple to resolve employment discrimination allegations based on citizenship status. The Justice Department announced today that it has secured a landmark agreement with Apple to resolve allegations that Apple illegally discriminated in hiring and recruitment against U.S. citizens and certain non-U.S. citizens whose permission to live in and work in the United States does not expire. Under the agreement, Apple is required to pay up to $25 million in back pay and civil penalties. Then he goes on, the settlement agreement resolves the department's determination that Apple violated this is the immigration, what is it called this? The Immigration and Naturalization Act. Yeah, it says, yeah, under the anti-discrimination provision of the Immigration and Nationality Act. So the settlement resolves the department's determination that Apple violated the Immigration and Naturalization Act's anti-discrimination requirement during Apple's recruitment for positions falling under the Permanent Labor Certification Program. The PERM program is administered by the Department of Labor and Department of Homeland Security. It allows employers to sponsor workers for lawful permanent resident status after completing recruitment and meeting other program requirements. And then, so that was $25 million. So it says, and of course, there are many other such cases because this is what companies do. They do discriminate against the native-born Americans. And they go out of the way. They manipulate the H-1B system. They make it so specific to ensure that, hey, we can't find an American to fill this position. So, you can always put in, I want somebody who can do this and this and this. And they say, oh, well, I can't find an American who does this, but I can find that person in Bangladesh. But say, there are other cases in which companies have had to pay fines because they're discriminating against Americans. But anyway, this is quite a serious rift because Trump isn't even in the White House yet. And suddenly these wealthy donors that Trump has surrounded himself with, there's Musk, David Sachs, Peter Thiel, they have a different agenda. They have the agenda of the billionaires, and they want, they think they're going to cash in with Trump. They're going to, hey, we want this cheap labor, and that's exact opposite of what MAGA is supposed to be about. It was about buy American and hire American, and they're not really expecting this attitude. And then with Vivek letting rip as to what he really thinks about Americans, having ingratiatingly presented himself as, I really love this country, and then tells us, well, that's what I really think of the people who populate this country. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But Trump has a problem on his hands. And the Musk issue is going to become quite a serious one when you get a billionaire, not just a billionaire, the richest man in the world, starting to advocate all the different programs that he once eliminated. Um, that's gonna start hurting the people who are supporters of Trump's. Um, I think Trump had made a mistake in getting so close to Musk, um, but I think if he continues down this path, not only will he lose quite decisively the midterms, because I think this is going to be very unpopular in the country, having billionaires deciding policy, a handful of billionaires deciding policy. Not only is he going to lose the midterms, he will be impeached. He will be impeached for having signed the country over to the billionaires. And that the Democrats might get some traction with that. Hey, he's allowing the billionaires to steal America. So anyway, I thought I'd just give an update on this rift within the GOP, and we'll keep you posted on how this goes. And remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye bye.